All right, welcome to the Sweet Talk. Today is Monday, February 10th, 2020. I am your host, Kim Matina. Um, I am a technology teacher, a Google certified trainer, and a gold product expert for the Google for Education team. And today I have on my show Mr. Zach Kolar. He is a technology teacher in Massachusetts, and I'm going to let him introduce himself a little bit. But welcome to the show, Zach.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have you on, but why don't you introduce yourself, tell the audience where you're from, what you teach, and just brag a little bit.
Awesome. So I teach at an elementary school in Waltham, Massachusetts. I'm a digital learning teacher, so everything I do, it's kind of a combination of teaching and coaching. So everything I do is co-taught, which is kind of neat. So I always push into classes. So I'm always teaching alongside a classroom teacher rather than just having kids come to me like a specialist. So I do all sorts of things with digital literacy and computer science. We do projects that like usually start with some kind of research component and then turn into a digital product at the end. So things like Google Sites, Scratch. I'm trying to sneak coding in wherever I can. And yeah, so all grade levels in elementary.
So elementary, what, K through 6?
K to 5.
Oh, K to 5. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, because I'm a technology teacher in middle school in New Jersey, and I'm in the 7th and 8th grade building.
Oh, okay.
So elementary school in my district is really K6. That's why I asked. Every place is different.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have similar roles. I'm a technology teacher, very similar to what you do. I push in to the classes as well. So I'm co-teaching with the teacher and incorporating their content into the tech part of it. So that's awesome. It's nice to hear that, there are other people like us out there.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to have you on because, like I was telling you before we got on the air, I was at a Google headquarters in New York, attending a CS First conference, computer science conference, which included CS First, Applied Digital Skills, and Internet Be Awesome. And the Scratch blocks add-on came up in the CS First section, and nobody knew about it. So it was really nice to be able to learn something new about that part of Scratch, or that part of an add-on that can be helpful and useful in Scratch. So and I always said, I'm going to get it. I tweeted it out and I bookmarked it, and I just never got a chance to play around with it. So I'm glad that you're on now so that you can enlighten me and the audience on what it is. So why don't you, introduce it, and how did you come up with the idea of this add-on, and what really is the purpose of it?
So last year we were working on a project. The fourth graders had to write choose your own adventure stories as part of their just normal ELA curriculum. And that seemed like the perfect opportunity to introduce Scratch. So I was going through, I thought we could just do a simple choose your own adventure story in Scratch, but it was the first time most of them had used Scratch before. So I figured there'd be just a lot of, they had like maybe played around like once and they knew the concepts of the blocks, but specifically the part with the if then statement, I knew that was going to be a little bit much for them. So I've got just sort of a sampled finished product if you'd like to see super quick just what we were working towards.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me share my screen real quick. So in the story, there's a narrator character, in this case a wizard taco, because why not? And so the narrator describes a little bit about the setting. We really wanted them to get into the narrative writing piece of this, so we were teaching them how to read it in like dramatic voices and stuff like that. So you can see the wizard taco is just introducing the setting, the background, and the main character is this tarantula who's trying to go after its prey for dinner. So in a moment, it's going to get to a point where it's going to ask us to choose which prey animal it's going to go after. So that was part of the assignment. They had to research a couple different predators and a couple different prey animals. And so now it's about to ask us which of those animals we would like to go after. So we're almost there. Sorry.
That's okay.
You can choose which animal. So you get to choose the mouse or the beetle. So which one should we go after?
The beetle.
The beetle. All right, so you type beetle and click enter. And then it goes to another screen. The tarantula senses something small, walk by, and heads off after it. A darkling beetle, also out looking for something to eat, notices the tarantula and stops by some rocks and stays absolutely still. Because the tarantula's eyesight is not good, it doesn't see the beetle camouflaged against the rocks. The tarantula searches for several minutes, but when the beetle never moves, the tarantula gives up and walks away to look for something else to eat. And then it gives us the option to start over. So with that, so they all wrote their stories, their 2 endings and stuff. And like I said, I figured like the storytelling part wouldn't be too hard, but the conditionals would be a little bit harder. So I was going through and I actually made like a whole mini presentation about teaching kids what are conditionals, practicing like if then else, that format. We like acted stuff out a little bit, but I really wanted to have a way to show them the different blocks that you could use with that in Scratch. And like I was thinking of demonstrating the blocks just in Scratch, but I like to make slides when I'm showing things. So I wanted to put the block materials in. And I actually came across something that a guy named Tim Radvan came up with. It's just called Scratch Blocks, and it's actually the underlying code. If you've ever used the Scratch forums, you can embed blocks without having to like take screenshots and stuff. So let me just, go back to my screen, and I'll show his website real quick. So he has this. It's just scratchblocks.github.io.
Okay.
So you can use this when green flag clicked, and whatever you type here, it'll turn into a block on the side of the screen. So I started by using that because he lets you export as SVGs or PNGs. But I figured like everything I do is in Google Docs. So it was an extra step to have to open this up, download it, and put it into Google Docs. So I figured his code is open source. He seems open to other people using his code for other things. So I took it and I turned it into an add-on inside of Google Docs. So I'm just going to load this add-on real quick. It works in both Docs and Slides, exactly the same. And so if I load this add-on, now I get this little sidebar over here, and I can do the exact same thing, just type the code that I want when flag clicked. And if I go to the preview now, I can see that transformed into a Scratch block. From there, I can insert the block into the document. It'll take a second. It comes up kind of big, so you have to shrink it down a little bit. But I just wanted this as a way to be able to quickly create materials like this for students, for teachers, and just sort of show what the blocks would look like without having to go into Scratch and drag them and take a screenshot, because that just seemed like a very cumbersome setup.
Wow. So this is really cool, because I didn't have any idea like what the add-on did. So this is an add-on that you can create like documentation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, documentation, lesson materials, anything like that.
Okay. Wow. This is cool. So you don't, I mean, you actually, you skip that whole take a screenshot, copy and paste, and you had created the add-on for the doc or the slide to put in there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, does it work for every type of commands, or does, like if I typed in here, a loop statement, will it give me a loop block? I'm assuming it will, but
yep. Yeah, so it covers, I believe, every type of block, including if you like define your own blocks. So the way it works, the one green flag clicked is like pretty straightforward. It's just the words. For certain other blocks, like let's say there's blocks that have inputs. So like the say block, you get to specify what's being said. There's special syntax that you use for those ones. So for the say block, for example, I would say the word say, and then I need a square bracket. Those are the ones that are kind of above the enter key. And then inside the square bracket, that's where I put what I want to say. Hello. And so now if I go over to the preview, I've got my say block there. So
okay.
One issue that I've seen people run into is that sometimes if you forget those extra special characters, then it just turns red. So if the block is red, that just means that you might need to tweak a little bit of that. It seems like it's fair. So again, this is just the syntax that Tim wrote in his add-on that I've just adopted. But it seems pretty intuitive once you get more comfortable with it. But if you ever need, there's a link right here to this syntax guide. And this will show you, if you scroll through here, there's a table of contents also, but it shows you how to make every type of block. So in here we have like the forever loop. That's just you type forever and then you indent your code after that. for like the if statement, you put the condition between a less than sign and a greater than sign. So it looks pretty similar to like what you'd seen here. Like it's got the angle bracket, just like you have that little hexagon shape in there. But if you ever get stuck and don't know how to do a particular block, this guide will show you how to do everything, including those custom blocks.
So do you ever use this as a student assignment? So like, because if you're in elementary school, so maybe not. Like if you wanted to have your kids learn text-based coding, um, this would be a good start to it
Mm-hmm.
because they can type it in the add-on and then actually see if their sentence or their command line is correct by previewing it and seeing if it's red or if it's the correct color. Like, do you ever try to use it as a different, with a different purpose, not just for teachers, but for
Mm-hmm.
the students?
Yeah, so I hadn't really like in my mind I was just thinking of this as a resource for teachers, but it's funny you say that because someone else just I think they left a review yesterday and they mentioned that exact thing that you could use this with students and have them practice more typing out the code and using whether the blocks are red as a as a way to check their work, which I think is like a really cool use and not something I'd thought of before. But I think it's just goes to show that like anytime there's something like this, like once it gets out there, like everyone can be creative with it and sort of come up with their own uses even beyond what I had originally envisioned. So I think that would definitely be a potential next step as you're, like you said, trying to get them more into text-based coding versus just the blocks. It's kind of like a happy medium because it's still they're still seeing the blocks that they're familiar with, but having to think a little bit more like, what do I type? Do I need the special characters and stuff like that?
But is the syntax the same? So, like, because I don't remember in Scratch, like I know in Code.org you can see the back end
Mm-hmm.
of your block-based coding. It'll show you the block, the text-based
Mm-hmm.
coding to go with your program. But I don't remember if Scratch does that. Does Scratch show you the back end of text-based programming?
As of now, Scratch doesn't do that
Okay,
because I think Scratch is it's the way it's set up. Like from the back end, Scratch is its own language, so it's not actually compiled. Like so, Code.org is the blocks are compiled into JavaScript, where
JavaScript.
Scratch, like the blocks are actually just run directly. So it's not exactly like that. Yeah, like you said, so it may not be a perfect comparison, but it's at least sort of comparable. Like saying like maybe if you were to become like a programmer and use a traditional language, this might be similar to what you're doing, but it's not exactly the backend code that you're seeing there.
Okay, yeah, because like that would be helpful because if the code was the same, then you're
Mm-hmm.
actually teaching them how to write it with the proper syntax right from
Yeah.
Google Doc or the Google Slide,
Mm-hmm.
and then then can transition nicely into JavaScript or whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, but I would think that the syntax isn't really that much off
Mm-hmm.
because you still have to type, I'm assuming, according to what you shared on your screen, you still have to type like your special symbols, maybe arguments and
Mm-hmm.
different syntax that is already in text-based coding.
Yeah, I think it definitely gets you used to just the idea, like you're saying, that there are these special characters that you have to be aware of, and like just one little mistake, like if I accidentally take off the
The
that
semicolon
yeah
or the period.
that'll throw it off. Yeah, just like a semicolon in the real in real coding or in text based coding. So I think it would definitely get you thinking in that way, just to be aware of those types of things.
I
Um,
I like this. I would definitely use this for middle school.
mhm.
But I would use it more for the students, like have
Yeah.
the students create some type of code or program and
Mhm.
then just to see like their logic. So like
Yeah.
you can do like an unplugged activity and
Mhm.
have them create the reference to it using your add-on
Yeah.
and then let switch Chromebooks and then let the other person try to read their program and actually do it and see
Oh
if it
yeah.
makes sense. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so, I mean, that's how, I mean, it is kind of unplugged because you're not really, well, it's in a sense, it's really not, but it could be considered unplugged because you're not on, a compiler,
Mhm.
you're not logged into any type of programming language or application that you're using for programming. You're just using the add-on and a Google Doc or a
Hmm.
Google Slide. So you're not, it can be either way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that. It's got that like you're sort of predicting what's going to happen with the code without getting to see whether it runs or not to like be
Yeah.
able to step through the algorithm and see if it's actually working.
Yeah. And
Um
because I would take that code, like say you and I were partners, and
mhm,
I would give you my Chromebook, right? And then see if you can follow my logic
mhm.
and actually like, have you physically do what it tells you to do. So it may say, okay, move forward 2 steps, turn
Yeah.
left, move forward, go back, whatever, and then actually see where you go
Mhm.
and if it works or not. And then you can critique it and have like kind of like pair programming to a point, like
Yeah.
have the other student fix it, and then
Mhm.
vice versa, like you work together. So I like that for a student perspective.
Yeah. And that
I
kind of goes along with, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, sorry.
That sort of goes along with like I think I sort of started like the elementary version of what you're talking about, and I think what I've been doing could lead up to that. So I had made for the Choose Your Own Adventure story that I showed you. I made a code planning sheet for them where I had like a skeleton that I made of blocks with this. I can show you real quick the that student outline, but I purposely left stuff missing, and instead of having them like type the answers in, I just printed it, and they then um, they filled it out. So I gave them this kind of skeleton. So you could see the top area up here is the introduction. Over here is where you're asking which ending they want. If the answer equals beetle, then show the beetle ending, else show the other ending. So for this, they followed along with that introduction I gave them, and I had these arrows here, so they just labeled what each section was supposed to be for. But I think then, like what you were saying, instead of giving this to them as a physical sheet of paper, it could be like they're planning their code just on their devices. Like maybe you give them the text to start with and say now fill in the parts that are missing with whatever we need to do, or maybe you only give them the first half and they need to plan out the second half before they get into um, actually writing their code. And that also kind of connects once you get to like college courses and stuff. There's a lot of you have to write things in pseudocode, which is
Yeah.
like not kind of like how this isn't exactly like JavaScript or something, but it represents what the code is. So also having them separate the algorithm from the specific coding language and be able to like plan that out and express themselves in more general terms.
Yeah, I was just thinking that it's like pseudocode. So you can actually give them that template and have them actually fill it in, and that can be considered their pseudocode.
Mm-hmm.
Or they can take that template and then translate it into English, right? And
Yeah.
then that can be part of their pseudocode also, and then that'll prepare them for the actual code in part of the project. I do
Mm-hmm.
like that. I do like this. I really
Thanks.
do. I'm now that I'm having you on and you're going over it. I see the value in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely going to incorporate it because it you can definitely use it with Scratch, but the concepts are still the same. It doesn't matter what application it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I use a lot of microbit in my class.
Mm-hmm.
So it's block-based coding as well, but you can still take the concepts and create it in in the Google Doc. I mean, obviously the blocks aren't going to be exactly the same, but the
Mm-hmm.
concept, the pseudocode concept and everything, you can incorporate that. I'm not going to make a microbit add-on,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, it's I mean, it's definitely doable. You can do it, because
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely a purpose there. You can take that and use it as um, student assignment, or you can take it for teachers and they can make documentation. So, you know, how it is. Educators are so creative. They come up
Mm-hmm.
with their own ways and they tweak it to make it more purposeful for them. So
Yeah.
that's the way I would say I would use it. Because
Mm-hmm.
what I do, even with the microbit, is I take screenshots, obviously, like what you were doing, and I incorporate them in Google Slides. See, how we think alike,
Mm-hmm.
and so that the kids can actually follow along in the directions and then try to try to code their program from my directions,
Uh-huh.
so this, for me, if it was in microbit, it would be awesome. But
Hmm.
I have the microbits, so I try to use them,
Yep.
you know. So, but this is awesome. Like if you're a Scratch user
Hmm.
and you're using CS first and you're a Scratch user, this add-on is so priceless in my opinion. I think it's great because it serves like a multi-purpose. And I'd be curious if you when you hear feedback from people, I'd be curious to hear how many other people are using it in different ways,
Hmm.
to customize it for their needs. So you got to share.
Yeah,
You got to let me
definitely.
know. Definitely let me know because I'll push this out. Like, I mean, like I'll, what the problem is too is like some people are nervous to teach computer science
Hmm.
and they are intimidated because they don't know the content. But this would be a great way of getting the teachers like familiar with it
Hmm.
without really blowing anything up, right? Because that's
Yeah.
what everybody's afraid of, um, you know, so this would be a nice way where people can learn the code,
Hmm.
incorporate the color coding blocks, the logic, right in a Google Doc,
Uh-huh.
and then they even can create programs or pseudocode that don't work, and then
Hmm.
have the kids test it out, and then let them see, hey, is this doesn't make sense, and
Oh
then
yeah.
like they can do it that way too. Like you don't always have to make the program work. Give a couple programs to the kids that don't work, and then let's see if they figure it out. Like where's the problem? So I'm I can't believe it. That's really cool.
Thanks.
I'm real. I'm a computer science person, so
Hmm.
for me this is like awesome.
Hmm.
I'm definitely gonna utilize it now that I'm familiar with it and you introduced it to me. So, and the audience, I'll definitely push it out and see what kind of feedback I get. I can push it out to the other technology teachers
Hmm.
in my district, and then because they're teaching, like I said, K-6, and I know they incorporate coding in their curriculums in their classes. So I'll push it out to them and see what they do with it, and then I'll let you know if I hear feedback. I'll definitely let you know.
Awesome.
You
Yeah, I
know.
would love to hear because this is so like even just this conversation we've had, you've come up with so many things that I never even would have thought of, and it's just so interesting that like to see where like even like I created the add-on, but like I'm not like the sole expert in like how to use it, and like you haven't seen it before, but you're already thinking of all these things that like I had never even occurred to me. And like you were saying, it's just so cool how creative teaching is, and like depending on your different needs, there are so many different ways to use all of these tools and incorporate them and think of stuff like that. So I'm really interested to hear what other people have to say and if people have other ideas of how to use it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you know. I mean, honestly, that's why we do, like, that's why we collaborate, right? Like that's why I like to have people on to talk, to learn from each other, share, because I didn't hear anything about this until when I went to the workshop in Google headquarters, and I didn't get a chance to look at it. And I was glad that you were going to be on and show it off, because this is what I was thinking of when I saw your name. So
Mm.
I'll definitely let you know feedback, because sometimes things come out, and like for me, middle school, I don't want to you want to give something that's on their level. I don't
Hmm.
want to give students in 7th and 8th grade elementary school material.
Yeah.
But this, you can work either way, and I can take this and I can make it, um, I can differentiate it, first of all. Secondly, I can take it and use it as a teacher resource, and then I can use it for students. They can create their own. I can give, like I said, I can give the students programs or pseudocode and see if the logic makes sense or if it does make sense, and test them out and see what it's all about. Like let them all collaborate in groups and use all of those computing skills that come with computer science,
Hmm.
and try to figure all this out. Like this would be a great tool to use during computer science education week.
Hmm.
No doubt. No doubt in my mind. You don't even have to use Scratch. Just use the add-on and have them use this for like a day or two class periods, and then just have them like dive into it and see where it takes you, you know? Definitely. I'm gonna definitely share this out. This is, to me, it's very valuable, you know, because I like the flexibility with it being open where I can differentiate,
Yeah.
you know, which is nice. So now, is it the same? I know you shared it in, you showed off in Google Docs, but what
Yep.
about Google Slides? Is it the same type of format?
Yep. It's I can show you real quick in my on my screen. Sorry. But it's exactly the same. The sidebar is the same. It's actually the underlying source code that I have for it. There's like maybe 3 functions that are different between the two. But it's almost identical, which is hopefully good. So it's easy to like translate this between different apps. But so the sidebar is still over here. This looks the same when flag clicked. So I can insert the block onto here, and again, it's kind of big, so you have to resize it. But other than that, it's exactly the same. You can preview, you can do everything in those 2 apps.
Okay, so here's a question for you. When you put in a different command, just type something. It goes into it puts it in as a separate image.
Yeah, so if I were to insert this one now, it'll put it in as a separate image. That's one thing that I'm hoping to get to. This is just something I do in my free time, so I don't know if I can promise this, but I would love for there to be a way that you can edit these after the fact, because if you have like a longer script, you would have to kind of rewrite what you've already done. So I've seen a couple other add-ons that do similar things, but I'd love if there was just a button right here where you could click on it and like whatever you typed into here shows back up on here, even if you didn't just type that. But for now, yeah, it'll just, every time you click insert, it'll add a new block or a new image.
So type one more command in there so we get another image.
One more here, so it's just going to keep.
So it's just going to, so you have 3 different images.
Yep.
I see. Okay, with the 3. Okay, I thought it was different. I thought it was 3 separate images, not.
Oh, not like connected to each other?
Not connected to each other. Yeah.
If you wanted to, you could do it. You could just do these one at a time. So I could make like my one flag click first. It would help if I could spell things. So I could insert this one by itself. And then I could do, say, oops, hello, and insert this one separately. And now these are going to be 2 different images. And then, I mean, on the screen, as long as you make them the same size, you could connect them. If you wanted to like connect them like together, have like a drag and drop or matching type thing. So that could be a way, if you wanted that effect, to be able to move these separately.
So you just removed the when flag clicked.
Yeah.
Okay. What? All right. So take out. All right. So because I can't do this, you're doing it. You're driving here. So take all that out. All right. So start over again. Take out say hello, and then put in there when green flag clicked.
Right.
Yeah. Hit insert. Okay. Now insert a new slide. All right. Yeah, make it blank. And now take out when flag clicked and put in say hello. Okay, so you can put each block on its own separate.
Oh yeah, yep.
Okay, slide. I actually like it better in Google Slides, because then what you can do here is you can actually okay, so here I go, I'm going again. You can actually create like a template for the kids. And then just you have a template and they put the block in there, and then you can have them respond. So, they can actually they can actually type the pseudocode or the meaning of the block in the comments of the slide, or in the speaker notes, or somewhere in the slide.
Yeah.
Where, so it's a little bit more, it's broken down into a little bit more steps. I like it better in the slides than the doc.
Yep. But yeah, I like that. Like all the like making it interactive and stuff like that. That would be really cool.
Yeah, this is cool, Zach. Good job.
Thanks. Can I show you one more thing that might help with the microbit real quick?
Yeah, definitely.
So if you come up into the syntax guide, once again, this is part of like the underlying stuff. So this is just what Tim Radvan made. But if you
Okay.
scroll down to hacks and you go to color and shape changing, you can actually, there's syntax that lets you set up like custom colors and stuff. So if you wanted, like let's say this example, I don't know if you could see it very well, but this says, say I'm not a motion block, just in the brackets, but there's 2 colons and the word motion. And then that turns this into a blue block as if it was from the motion category. And you can even do it, this one down here says think arbitrary colors, and then it's 2 colons and a pound sign and like a hex color value. So it's this unique green color that's not actually part of Scratch. So if you wanted to create like your own custom blocks that kind of match the microbits, you can set it up with whatever you want, like with the word, or if there's like a space for input or something like that, and then set a custom color over here. And then you'll get a block that maybe looks more similar to microbits or any other language that isn't exactly like Scratch, but still uses similar looking blocks.
So does that save?
The image saves over here. You would just need to for each of these blocks, like if you wanted another one of these green ones, you would need to put in the colon and the custom color at the end. So you would have to do that for each block that you type.
Yeah, but like now I did it for this one session.
Mhm.
Now I go back in the next day. Are all of my settings there for the hack for microbit? Or do
Yeah,
I have
so
to redo it?
the blocks on your slides are just images. So whether this, like, even if you completely deleted the add-on, the blocks on your slides are going to stay as is, because it would be like if you saved a picture to your computer and like uploaded it. The
No,
only
I
time,
mean the hack part.
well, so for the hack, you're just for each block that you wanted. Like if I wanted another green block, at the end of this line, I would put my 2 colons and this custom color. So you would need to put it like manually type that color for every green block you wanted or whatever color you wanted. So it's a little bit more work, not quite as intuitive as the Scratch ones.
Right. But I
But
mean, like, once I type it in one time,
Mhm.
just say I type this in one time,
Yeah.
will it be available there all the time for me, or do I have to go in the next time and define it again that it's the green color, not purple?
You will need to define it each time. Yeah, that
Okay.
custom color, just with this extra, the 2 colons and the color at the
And
end.
the color, the hex color.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that might be something to think about. No pressure or anything, you
Yep.
know, but
Expanding to
expand over to microbit, and then you could have the add-on just for microbit,
yeah.
and then
Mhm.
just do that, and then you don't have to hack the Scratch part.
Yep.
Because quite, you know how it is. You're a teacher. Teachers aren't going to do that.
Yeah, there's not enough time to
There's not enough time to do
customize
that.
every single.
Right. If you had to do it one time and be done, okay, I could
Yep.
put the time into it, but I'm not going to do that every time.
Yeah.
That's way too much time. So, but that's something to think about.
Mhm.
I mean, that's good that it's there.
Yeah.
So maybe the computer science teachers would hack it and do it, but I
Yep.
personally wouldn't
Mhm.
do it. But
Yeah.
that's great. I'm impressed. That's awesome. Good for
Thanks.
you, Zach. Good for you. I'll definitely let you know about the feedback. I'll pass it along. I'll see the computer teachers, the technology teachers this Friday during our
Mhm.
PD day. So I'll share it with them and email it to them tomorrow and share it out. So
Awesome.
if I hear anything, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that wraps up our show for tonight. Thanks, Zach, for being on. I'm so happy that you were able to share. And I actually learned, what I was looking forward to learning from that Google conference that I went to. So thank you for that. I'm going to be sharing it with a few people on Twitter that were in the PD with me
Mhm.
that day at Google headquarters. So they'll, unless they already played around with it, but if not, I'll tag them in there, and at least they'll be able to see, watch the episode and visit the show notes as well. So, what
Awesome.
I'm going to do really quick is share my screen. So, let me go into here. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So, if you'd like to visit my website, you can go to the Sweet Talk. That's the SUITE talk.com. And on my homepage, you'll see the latest episode here. And if you'd like to be a guest on my show, you can fill out the guest form and I will be in touch with you as soon as I can. Right now, I'm scheduling for June. I can't believe it. It's been what a ride. This has been great, and you can check out my schedule here as well. There's quick links here. Um, any trending episodes I'll post here as well with the podcast. You can also join the Facebook community. Any episodes that I did in the past, if you click on the episode page, uh, the YouTube video will be listed here, as well as the Wakelet show notes will be here as well. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, my newsletter, podcast. I am on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, and Google Podcasts as well. And one other thing I just want to share, two things. Jamboard. This is my Jamboard page here. If anybody wants to know about Jamboard, I updated all my resources for it, so you can check the Jamboard page out. I'm actually going to be presenting at the EdTech for Future conference on Jamboard. It's called Get on the Jamboard Train, and that's free. And that is a 3-day online conference. It's a global conference on February 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. So go check them out. The Google Classroom page, actually, Alice Keeler and I wrote a book about stepping up to Google Classroom, and it should be available hopefully by May or June. So if you want to be updated on the latest news about it, you can subscribe to her newsletter, and she will inform you. So you can sign up there, and you can be in touch with some latest updates. But with that said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and go back to Zach.
Awesome.
So thank you again, Zach. It was really nice to have you on. It was a pleasure meeting you, and stay in touch, okay?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. Like I said, I've learned so much about my own add-on, which is like super cool. And like I'm just excited to like try all these things and hear how other people are using it. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, maybe we'll have you back on toward the end of the year when it gets closer to like Computer Science Education Week, and then we can both reflect and then see. We can give it a shout out, and then we can kind of like see where we're all at with it. So, would you consider doing that?
Definitely. That would be awesome.
Cool. I'll send you the information, and then maybe sometime in November or maybe the end of October, because Computer Science Education Week is usually like in December. So
it always sneaks up.
Yeah, it always sneaks up. So maybe October or November we can reconnect.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right, great. All right, well, until next time, thank you for joining and watching. See ya. Bye.
See ya.